Introduction with Beth and Stephen Daniel.
My name is Stephen Daniel.
I'm Beth Daniel.
And we're the founders of Quantum Techniques. And this is a short introduction to what Quantum Techniques is. And then we're going to have a day of filming live demonstrations. And so Quantum Techniques is a new development in energy medicine, probably one of the most advanced forms of energy medicine that I've ever seen. And it integrates many aspects of treating the physical, the toxin, pathogens, putting non-healing informational pathways back online, dealing with trauma fields, spiritual attachments, frozen emotional fields. It's a very complete system. And part of that comes from the belief that ultimately disease is a disconnection, and then ultimate healing is reconnection within and with the divine. And so when there's a trauma or, let's say, a mercury toxicity or a virus the body can't see, there's a disconnect in the body's healing intelligence. And so we do multiple things to put those informational pathways and address the trauma fields, toxicity issues, to put those back online.
To keep in mind that this is a remote energy healing system, and we want to bring it to you live and show you what we're doing on the other end of the phone. We work with people on the phone all day long, all over the world. We have many practitioners that we're training in this work. You'll meet some of them today. All of the people that are here today are new to Quantum Techniques, except for one. There's only one client demonstration of someone we've ever met before. Everyone else is new. We don't know their issues. They're here, it's live. So keep that in mind as you're watching this.
That those would be an example of our first session with someone who's never done Quantum Techniques. Okay.
The other thing of note is that you will see us touching various points on the body, on the head, on the wrists. What we're doing is using our own body and energy field as a surrogate for the person that we're treating, because we're used to doing this on the phone. We wrap it all up in what we call a treatment field and then give the person an individualized code for their issue. Now, the code is using different acupressure points through our Getting Started Quick section. So I would recommend, if you haven't looked at that, go to our website at quantumtechniques.com and look at our free download, Getting Started Quick. It shows you the treatment points that we use in the code. The client then uses that code to treat themselves. Our mission at Quantum Techniques is to teach you to heal yourself. So we're not really doing the healing. We're finding information, sharing it. The person is healing themselves by reading the code on a daily basis and then continuing their healing work.
You know, as advanced as what we do is in the field of energy medicine, it's also in its infancy. We've been given more powerful advanced scans this last year than the 10 years before that I've been doing this work. And so it's almost like if you did Quantum Techniques a year ago and you got partial healing but not complete, you know, try it again, because it's a whole new ballgame. And we typically have some major breakthroughs 2 or 3 times a year. We also have multiple multiple entry points into Quantum Techniques. You know, one of those is calling out for an individual session. Okay, one of those is listening to the free teleclinics, using the free manuals, doing the work on your own. One of those is buying the products and learning how to treat yourself. So there's multiple entry levels into the system.
We also want to mention, for those of you watching and sharing this with others, that you are allowed to make copies of this DVD and give it to those friends and family who you think this would be helpful for, and use something called borrowing benefits. You'll hear our practitioners and us mention that later on today as you're watching the DVD. And the theory behind that is that anyone that is watching that resonates with what we're doing with someone, maybe you have a similar issue to a person that you'll see here live today, you can use the information in the code that is given to treat yourself or someone else if something resonates with you. So it's a borrowing benefits model that Gary Craig started with the emotional freedom technique, and we're happy to present that to you so you can use this to also treat yourself or someone else with a similar issue.
Yeah, we have our origins in EFT and TFT. And so there's some strong similarities, there's some strong differences. We've been told by many people, you guys are EFT on steroids. And that is because we've taken muscle testing, which we teach in our Truth Techniques 1 DVD on our website. We have multiple free teleclinics to a level that we've never seen before, a level far beyond what TFT has done. I know back, I was voice technology trained in TFT, and people would call and talk to two practitioners and get different results on toxins. No one knew why. Well, we found a simple thing of holding the belly spot when you're testing, and you'll see demonstrated. That clears that difference. So there's a lot of things we've done to take it, several generations beyond EFT and TFT. I found that if you get the entire field, EFT works every time. However, the majority of clients I work with come from an EFT background where it worked for other issues, it worked for their friends, but not for this chronic issue for them. And our background is working with chronic issues that have failed EFT, acupuncture, the Mayo Clinic. And so we really zoom in on what's been blocking that. And most of the time it's been a toxin field, something they're wearing like laundry soap, a food. It could be a hidden pathogen like a fungal infection, or they could have compartmentalized trauma in what we call parts work, or holding emotions in the body that aren't theirs, like frozen emotional fields, or spiritual attachment. So there's a lot of things we've done beyond that that we teach throughout our teleclinics and products.
Steve, why don't you share a little bit about how you started Quantum Techniques? I think that would be a good thing to share.
Part of my journey is to understand that whatever you're given each day is essentially your daily bread. That is your gift for that day. And if we can understand that and say, okay, how can I receive this in this moment in gratitude and see what it's bringing me for understanding, then I can move through life in a very different way than most people. What people don't realize is resistance is a form of attachment, okay? So for me, I had chronic migraines, and I had one that lasted 7 years. So probably in that 7 years, I had maybe a dozen days that I could focus both eyes well enough to recognize my daughters. I was functioning as a psychologist, would often have to vomit multiple times throughout the day between sessions. And luckily, I'm highly dissociative, I had a lot of self-hypnotic skills, so I could function while I was looking for answers. I did everything traditional medicine, non-traditional medicine, homeopathy, and nothing was working. And talking about taking our testing to the level we do, I worked with the #1 homeopathic physician in the state I was living in, and worked for several months using the electronic acupuncture machines according to Vol, which I always reverse the acronym, EAV, I always call it EVA. And he had tested me, and he had me on 21 medications or supplements. When I developed this level of testing, I found out that 19 of the 21 were toxins reversing me. So I was paying about $800 a month for supplements that were making me sicker. So, there's nothing like a 7-year migraine to motivate you to say, well, obviously I don't know the answers. And obviously all the people I'm going to don't know the answers, because if we did, I still wouldn't have this migraine. So I started moving in different directions, and TFT was a part of that, EFT was a part of that. I studied multiple other energy modalities. A spiritual consciousness journey was part of that. And out of that is where we came up with QT. And you may just want to mention quickly how you joined into this journey.
Yeah, it's quite a story, and I won't go into a lot of detail. Many of you have heard, as we have mentioned on our website, in our testimonials as well. But I originally was a client of Quantum Techniques, and that was probably 10 or 11 years ago by now, maybe 11. It was a while back. And I called Steve with major chronic health issues. It took me a long time to get to his door, so to speak, or his phone. And I had tried many things for many years, traditional and non-traditional. And in my 20s, I had a form of cancer, and then I developed fibromyalgia, severe allergies, multiple chemical sensitivities, and then environmental illness. So basically, I ended up being a prisoner in my own home. I couldn't leave my house. I was so sensitive to everything in my environment. There were some friends of mine in Los Angeles at the time. I was going to a support group for people with chronic health issues, And one of the women there gave me Stephen's business card. And all of my friends were telling me, you look like you're going to die. I'm really worried about you. What are we supposed to do? And I was probably 85 to 90 pounds, and I'm 5'7", so I was a pretty sick cookie back then. And I received Steve's business card and decided to give him a call because I had thought I tried everything by that point and there was nothing left. So I didn't have much hope. So I felt hope with what I was hearing from this woman at the meeting. So I did call Steve, and my life started to change after our first session. So I knew this would heal me, and nothing else seemed like it would. So that was the healing journey, and I healed in a year. I think we're much quicker now. We have many more advanced scans than we did back then, but I was just happy to get my life back. It was amazing. And then I trained with Stephen, and then after a while we ended up, I guess I'm training him, according to him.
Yeah, things kind of changed pretty quick there. I thought I was the boss, but that's another story.
So that's why I'm here, because this work really saved my life.
Yeah. And that's kind of how we got started. So we're going to just talk briefly as an overview about some of the things we address. We are going to do a more in-depth explanation of some things in the next couple of months.
And just to mention on that, we have a lot of different areas we look at in our scanning. If something resonates with you in terms of a physical issue you have or a spiritual issue, trauma history, we have many items in our shopping cart, many things that are free on our website, paid teleclinics on different emotional areas, on a lot of the physical scans, discussion on spirituality and consciousness. All of that is on our website in our shopping cart. So there is hours of information and material that you can find there. So we're just going to go through in a succinct manner and tell you what are some of the things that we look at QT or quantum techniques in case you're not familiar.
And just for an example, I just finished a 3-part series on autism with a brief introduction and then basically live work with a mother as a surrogate for a 10-year-old autistic child. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of things like that with the borrowing benefit model that you can have a very low cost entry, many things free, and get your healing started and see if this works for you. One of the things that we've done long term is if people buy any product for $25 or more, they can get 30 minutes free with a practitioner. Well, that's going to let you know if this works for you. It's rare that they can't make a dramatic difference in 30 minutes.
The other thing I want to mention is that the sky is the limit with QT. And what I mean by that is we have so many questions that come in every week about, can you help such and such an issue? Can you help this kind of issue? The sky is the limit. We can put the body into a healing state and help you on your journey, really regardless of what you're dealing with. One of the women asked me that's coming here today, does this have to be an emotional issue or a physical issue, or can it be something else? It can be anything. It can be any block in your life that you're looking to clear. Now, our specialty tends to be chronic illness, but it's not necessarily the case.
So I'm going to just talk briefly about the physical field. And that's where we take applied kinesiology, but self-muscle testing, which we teach, and we teach our clients to a whole nother level. And again, that product is Truth Techniques 1. And in doing that, we check all foods through just toxin ingestance, through dietary intolerance, which I've not seen anybody else do, that can the body actually break down the gluten? And if so, there's multiple levels of gluten. And again, we have a fungal infection teleclinic that talks about that. Can the body break down lactose? Well, everybody with diabetes has a milk allergy, whether or not they know it. That's just a simple example. Then we also test against histamines and inflammation. So inflammation is a huge issue in the body. And there are certain foods like nightshades for almost everyone, high sugar. There's things that causes inflammation. And to get healing in anything, physical or emotional, you have to get a grip on and control inflammation. We've also found, like we talked earlier, just holding the belly spot, the fingertips together 2 inches above the belly through a shirt when you're testing will prevent you from reversing. So every one of our practitioners, every one of our clients does that. It ensures a whole nother level of accuracy in your testing.
We look at other toxin issues besides foods, things that you breathe in, things that touch your skin, possibly injectants like flu shots or spider bites, anything that has broken the skin. So one of the first things we look at in our scanning is environmental toxins. What is in the person's environment internally or externally that's blocking their healing? Another big thing that we look at that I think we have excellent success in looking for hidden pathogens in the body, such as viruses. Viruses do quite a lot of DNA damage to the body if they remain there. So we're showing the body's healing intelligence where there may be viral frequencies. Remember, we're dealing with energetic frequencies. Steve and I aren't medical doctors. We do have some on the team. But we're not saying, okay, you're fighting a virus, you have the flu, go see your doctor. What we're looking for is energetic frequencies, energetic signatures, such as those seen on an MRI or on an EAV machine like Steve was talking about. So when we use these words, we are talking about frequencies. I should throw that in as a disclaimer. But we're looking for viral energies, bacterial, fungal, mycoplasma, which is a type of bacteria, parasite, protozoa energies, frequencies in the body that is blocking the body's healing. That's another big aspect under the umbrella of the physical field.
Well, another thing we do a lot of is resetting key informational pathways, and you'll see those on some of the demonstrations today. You know, if you have a tissue that's locked in a fight or flight response, what do you do to put it back in parasympathetic recovery? The metaphor I use is if you have a lamp and it shorts out and it pops your circuit breaker, well, you replace the light bulb, but you have to go back and reset the circuit breaker. And so a lot of times when there's been a toxin or a trauma to tissue, you got to reset the circuit breaker. And so that's one of the things we do and teach, and we put that in the code as well. Do you want to start with talking about the non-physical field?
Sure. Yeah, a big piece of anyone's healing being blocked is their perception of the world. And Bruce Lipton has shown, cellular biologist from Stanford and University of Wisconsin, he has proven that our perceptions create our biological reality. It's something we've always thought, but he's got the proof for all the skeptics there. So our perceptions create our reality. So whether I choose to see the world through my eyes as a place of joy, beauty, and love, or I choose to see the world as a place of fear and I need to be in self-protection, that will code my body for illness or health, depending on my belief system. So one of the really major tenets of quantum techniques is looking at that non-physical field, not always the conscious, but also the unconscious mind. What are the beliefs about myself, the universe, the divine, other people, the world? What are the traumas that I've had in my life, and what is the role of trauma in creating this illness that I have? That is always very significant, particularly trauma before the age of 5 that is dissociated from the conscious person, but also trauma throughout life and how that affects body tissues and how that affects our perception of the world. Those are some of the things we look at. And other non-physical fields can include generational fields, generational traumas. We also deal with generational physical vulnerabilities. Maybe everyone in the family tends to have weak heart issues. We can do some work on that from a generational perspective as well. Other non-physical fields that we look at are, what are some blocked emotions blocking this person from healing? They may or may not be aware of them, but they take up space physically and energetically, just like a physical issue would. We look at frozen emotions that may be other people in your life. Emotions are contagious. So you may resonate with someone else's anger and actually hold that in your body as part of your illness. That's another piece. Vows are something that I find quite often with my clients. Vows or contracts, something that you either have said out loud, like, I'll never get married again, or some kind of contract that you have with a parent that you're going to be a perfect child. Vows and contracts can really contribute to how we see the world and ourselves, and whether we are locked up or whether we are free. So that's another area that we look at. We have, Steve mentioned something on our homepage. It's a free download, quantumtechniques.com, on internal parts. That's internal dissociated states where you don't remember the trauma that occurred in your life. And we walk through how you can work with that, and you can start that on your own. Also, within the parts manual is something, what do symptoms mean? What is the intention of your symptom? Are you trying to get a need met? We have another free manual, taking EFT and QT to the next level, on our homepage that looks at non-physical fields. Steve recently did a teleclinic series, QT release technique, how to release these emotions, beliefs, thoughts, feelings in the body. So we've got a wealth of information on the non-physical field. I think that's also a real specialty for us.
Something that we're fixing to do more with is the whole issue of consciousness. And I'm just going to say that very quickly, is that most of us are socialized in our culture between 18 and 36 months to believe that we're separate from other people, we're separate from the divine. We're taught a Newtonian model of time. We're actually born in a perfect state where we think we're one with everything and everything's now. And once we get back to that state, a lot of our illness goes away. And so what happens in normal development is between 18 and 36 months, we find various false selves. I'm the good boy, I'm the strong boy, I'm the bad boy, I'm the pretty girl, I'm the smart one, whatever that is. And we kind of rotate those through life until they quit working. And then at some point we realize that we're always chasing something that never works. So we start doing a spiritual search. Well, when you have intense trauma, trauma forms very powerful bonds. Like I said earlier, resistance is a form of attachment. And so almost every person we work with severe autoimmune disease had some kind of severe trauma, usually repetitive, that's not remembered before the age of 5, where their body takes in, I'm bad, I'm unlovable, the world's a terrifying place, you know, the universe is out to get me, God's out to punish me. Goes underground, but later on it gets activated by some other event, like a divorce, a mold exposure, something else. So that makes that fear active, and like Bruce Lipton, the body starts coding for disease. You know, the false self lives in the Newtonian time and is always living in the past, prophesying terror in the future. By actually living in that terror state, in physics, you actually attract that event. You create that reality and attract it to you. True spiritual understanding, true consciousness, is the awareness that I am not a separate being. Okay, there is one identity I can hold on with that will never cause me suffering. If I think I'm a great dad, just wait till my kid screws up. Right. You know, if I'm a smart businessman, wait till I lose something. Okay? There is one identity, and it is I am the awareness in this moment. I can attach to no other identity without suffering at some point. Well, when I take that identity, I am the awareness of this moment, then it's always now, and I actually dissolve time. By dissolving time, I dissolve the connection between the false self and the prophecy terrible event in the future, and I actually stop the event from happening. It's a huge concept. It's a huge concept.
Well, and one of the things that we find often with our clients is that they really identify with their illness. So it's really talking about, you know, becoming free from that identification,
right,
and free from identification with anything, because eventually it will bring pain.
Yeah, because they get up every day and they check their symptom to make sure it's there. And what I realized with my migraines is for 7 years, everything I ate, everything I did was trying to resist migraines. For 7 years, my entire life was about migraines. See, that's part of where resistance becomes a form of attachment. And then I realized that if I don't try to take forward in the next 5 minutes or tomorrow the Steve I've known, then I can leave all of Steve's problems behind, including his migraines. So, and if I realize that I'm not really a separate self to even have a migraine, then I can sidestep that. And if I realize even if I have a discomfort, I'm going to die and there's going to be a new one reborn in 10 minutes with the divine, then I don't have to worry about it. So I'm no longer trying to do the divine's job and control the future in some way that I imagine. I find that reality is always more loving than our imagination.
I do want to mention one more thing, and you brought it up, just to add to that a little bit. In terms of the people that are working with us, and for those of you that are listening that may be healers yourselves or may have your own health issues, there is a great part of you that is not here now, either locked into a time warp from some trauma in your past, or like Steve said, living in the future. So a big part of what we do is work to reconnect you to your true self and reconnect you to that divine within yourself. But really, it's about reconnection and being present. We hope you enjoy this DVD today. We have a lot of great live demonstrations for you, and thank you for watching.
Blessings.
Demonstrate. Disclaimer for quantum techniques. Quantum techniques are not intended to diagnose, prescribe, treat, or cure any disease, physical or mental. Quantum techniques are self-help coaching techniques to balance bioenergetic systems and are not intended as a substitute for regular medical care. The purpose of this work is to reduce stress, enhance health, and remove any dysfunction in the body's bioenergetic system. No one is advised to discontinue or to avoid medical or psychological consultations. There are cases where medical or psychotherapeutic consultations are advised. Some statements in this training represent working theory rather than accepted science. Quantum techniques practitioners offer bioenergetic consultations and do not practice under any license, such as medical doctor, psychologist, psychotherapist, chiropractor, nutritionist, or naturopath. Bioenergetic consulting is not currently regulated by any licensing board in the United States. Any spiritual counseling provided by quantum techniques practitioners is not part of any recognized religion, nor is it intended as the practice of clinical psychology or psychotherapy. In this DVD series, we are describing frequencies only. When we use the words virus, bacteria, fungus, parasite, etc., we are only describing the energetic frequency of those items. Welcome to Quantum Techniques with Beth and Stephen Daniel.